Well, now that we've got Chris's mute button turned off, we are
Audio
live,
issues.
everybody.
Audio issues here. The mute button must be off.
Mute button must be off in order to hear me speak. All right. Let's jump right into it, Chris. Let's jump right into it. Obviously, you can see Chris and I sitting here live at Michigan Stadium after Michigan. I mean, I'll say it. They pretty much put a beat down on Western Michigan, winning the game 47-14. Little bit of a slow start, but that's probably to be expected after the weird year last year. Brand new system, lots of new players doing some new things, and then once everybody kind of settled down, Michigan really kind of had its way, did whatever they wanted against Western Michigan, pulled away, a lot of big plays. Some people really stood out. Cade McNamara was very, very efficient, but I mean, dude, he barely had to do anything, but he looked good what he was asked to do. I guess let's start right there with Cade. We weren't sure exactly what kind of quarterback he was or what he was going to look like or exactly what he would be asked to do. He goes 9 for 11, 136 yards, and throws 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like a pretty easy day for him. He didn't have to do too much, and that's something that Matt Weiss talked about, that they didn't need him to go out and do anything special. They didn't need him to, try to create crazy plays. He kind of he let the game come to him, and obviously against Western Michigan, it was going to be light work for McNamara, but I like what I saw. I just don't know how much you can gain from a game like this, but I mean, it's all good things. When you look at the scoreboard and it's 47-14, you got to be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, then we saw a little bit of the freshman J.J. McCarthy. We saw a little bit of Dan Villari. We saw some guys get in towards the end. I mean, J.J. extends a play, rolls out to his right, makes a play that you don't love, throwing back across the field late, but put a lot on it. Dalen Baldwin settled under it, took it in for I think it was a 70-plus yard touchdown or 69, something like that. Long touchdown play for the Rook. Get his feet wet a little bit. The whole roster pretty much running down the sidelines. Super excited for JJ, and maybe no more. Anyone was the most excited person I saw was Donovan Edwards. He about did a backflip to greet JJ down there by the sideline, and just you can tell the 2 freshmen got a chance to play a little bit today, and was pretty exciting to see. How about our freaking guy, Blake Corum? We had him on the pod. Had a lot of fun with it. His dad is a fan of Wolverine Digest. Dude, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, we have been talking about him a lot during the offseason, and today you could see why. I mean, athletically as gifted as anybody, but the way he's on the field, his vision, I just think I don't know if there's another back on the Michigan football roster at this point that is as dangerous as Blake Corum is coming out of the backfield. And I think you could see that, Mike Hart could sense that throughout the game because Corum was out there quite a bit. I know Haskins had a good game too. It was a solid game, but I think Corum had something like 213 all-purpose yards. I know he was up over 100 yards rushing. Just a really dangerous guy. He can take it to the house on any given play, and it's a pleasure to watch him play football, man. I'm glad he's here.
Yeah, Blake Corum finishes with 14 carries. Hassan Haskins has 13. They're both effective. Both had a couple nice runs. Blake had 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. Hassan Haskins had a touchdown, a short one, punched it in. I mean, I don't know, man. I wrote about this after the game as soon as we got done, kind of my 3 things that stood out in a positive way and then 3 things that weren't so great. And I think Blake Corum's the guy. I mean, I just – Hassan Haskins, really good back. A lot of people like what he does, but I think Blake Corum does things that no one else can do. Maybe Donovan Edwards. I mean, we didn't get to see him much, but the true freshman's pretty dynamic. But yeah, I think Blake Corum is the real deal. When you talk about his vision, the jump cuts, the quickness, the acceleration, the long speed, he just has several things that Hassan Haskins does not have. And he was the leading rusher today, both in carries and yards and average. And, I think it'll be interesting to see if it's Hassan Haskins or Blake Corum on the field first next week. I don't know. What would you do after what you watched right there?
You know where I'm going. I'm going to the well. I'm going back to Blake Corum. I do like Hassan Haskins. We talked about a little bit about this as we were watching the game, but I like Hassan Haskins in the short yardage situations. I think, he's a tough back. He's a hard runner. You get him in the red zone, he can probably get you some tough yards. But, man, the way Corum just works the open field, the vision that he has, the quickness that he has, like you said, the jump cuts, it's just, to me, if I'm a coach, I have a really hard time keeping him on the sideline. And then in addition to what he can do running the ball out of the backfield, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's just as dangerous. So, yeah, I mean, I would roll with the guy, Blake Corum, have Hassan Haskins, ready to come up if he needs a breather. But I'm trying to ride that horse as much as I can, especially next week.
Yeah, I don't know how you go away from him. And I tweeted it early. Yeah, I like Hassan Haskins. I don't dislike him. I think he's a good back, but I just don't know how you watch Blake Corum and be okay with taking him off the field. I just feel like he's wasting away if he's standing over on the sideline. I think you have him in the game as much as possible. Saw him take a kick return back 80 yards. I mean, he's a big play waiting to happen, man. He's electric, and I think he's the guy that needs to be in there more than anybody else. And that's, again, I mean, it's hard to say that and sound like you're knocking Hassan Haskins.
Right.
I truly am not knocking him. He's a good back, but I just really like what Blake Corum's all about. I like his running style. If I'm building a running back, that's what he looks like. Short, stocky, jacked, speed, quickness, jump cuts, balance, power. I mean, he's running dudes over today. He did it all. He scored the first touchdown of the season on a catch. Had another one late on a beautiful run. Had the long kick return. Special day for Blake Corum. Big day for Blake Corum. Wrapping up on offense a little bit. Super big bummer, man. Ronnie Bell has only one catch all day, but it's a 76-yard touchdown. He walked into the end zone. Then he goes back deep for a punt, puts down a really nice punt return. He's electric and kind of slippery back there. He always seems to break a tackle or two, and then he gets hurt. And it was hard for us to see up here exactly what the injury was or what happened or if he got rolled up on or what, but we saw that no weight on it and then carted off. I mean, just blows. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, and you obviously don't want to speculate when it comes to an injury, but, it didn't look like anything that was going to allow him to play next week. So if he's on the field against Washington, I'm going to be pretty surprised. He couldn't put any weight on it. He obviously had to be carted off. But it sucks, man. I mean, he's that under-the-radar guy. He's had such a great career at the University of Michigan. He gets named a captain. It's his final year. You just hate to see that in game one against Washington. I mean, you really hate to see it any time, but especially to start the season here for a guy like that. You just feel for him, and you hope he gets back soon.
Yeah, I mean, and he's good. He's a damn good player. Well, look at this here.
The production. Can you all hear that out there?
The band is on the field. I wonder if they'll be able to pick that up. But hey, that's the beauty of doing this thing. Yeah, that's the beauty of the pageantry and of the live show at Michigan Stadium. Hopefully, you'll still be able to hear us talking. But yeah, bummer for Ronnie Bell. Huge play on the long catch. Great punt return, and then he gets hurt. And I'll be surprised if we see him. It just didn't look good with how he was carted into the field, into the locker room, and not even being able to stand up on it. That's a bummer. But shifting over to the other side. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let me ask you. You and I, we've been doing these podcasts, and I think one of the things we kept talking about was I really want to see what Mike Mcdonald's defense looks like. And things looked a little bit shaky there initially, but, they settled in the second quarter, obviously, in the second half. What were your thoughts about Mike Mcdonald's defense?
Yeah, well, here's the thing I like the most, and I wrote about this. This is one of I did a 3-up, 3-down story right when the game ended. 3 things that are on the way up that I really like. 3 things that I was like, would have liked to see a little better there, or something unfortunate, Ronnie Bell's injury being one of them. But the main thing about Mike McDonald's defense, he adjusted. I thought I named several specific instances where he was doing something and then he stopped, or he changed, or he came back to it later, or this was there and then he took it away, and then we just didn't see that. We flat out didn't see that last year. I mean, Don Brown would put guys on an island, play after play after play after play, no matter how many times they got burnt, no matter how many times they got a pass interference call, no matter how many times they, let the receiver run by them or whatever. And you didn't see that out of Mike McDonald. It's Western Michigan. It looked a little shaky at first, but I'm very, very encouraged by the fact that he changed things up quite a bit. The most specific example is something I wrote about, and I was talking to you about it. Early in the game, Mike McDonald sent Daxton Hill on a blitz multiple times. Caleb Ellaby, the quarterback for Western Michigan, was getting rid of it so quickly that the blitz from Daxton Hill was pretty much worthless. It was just taking a defender off the field, basically. He went away from it. I didn't see it for probably 2 quarters. And then at the end of the game, when Western was down by a lot and there was a long down and distance where you knew Ellaby was going to have to hit a 5-step drop. He sent Brad Hawkins on a safety blitz, and he lit him up. And that's the kind of adjustment that you see, like, okay, I'm trying this. It's not working. Let me shelve it. Let me come back with it later. We like it. We like Daxton Hill coming on a blitz. We like Brad Hawkins coming on a blitz, but not right now. It's not working. That's so promising because I just don't think you saw that with Don Brown and not think we didn't see it with Don Brown. It's pretty obvious. You can go back and look at the tape. So I'm encouraged by that. Some of the things early on, the flat zones were open. They covered it up. They weren't getting much of a pass rush early. They started getting to the quarterback. It all started coming together. Slight grain of salt. It is Western, but I'd say like a B+. I give it like a B+ coming out of the first game for that defense.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The first 2 drives we were talking about, at least I was talking about how concerned I was because I think Western Michigan had put together 2 10+ play drives to open the game. And it wasn't like they were, the Michigan defense was just giving up. It wasn't like it was a broken play or a breakdown in defense. Like it was methodical. Western Michigan was moving the ball. But you're
picking up first downs.
Picking up first. It was slow and methodical, and they were doing what they wanted to do. It was going at their pace, but eventually they settled in. And some of the young guys, Nakai Hill-Green was out there. RJ Moten was out there. I think he had 6 tackles. And then you could see what they're doing with guys like David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson. So it was nice to be able to see it. I think you're right. It's hard to get a sense of just how successful it's going to be given the fact that it's Western. I saw some things that I really liked, though. And overall, I think you make a good point that even though there were some things that were concerning early on, you could see the willingness to make adjustments and that it paid off in the second half. And those are the things that we just haven't seen. So I do feel encouraged about that moving forward.
And also for the most part, there were a couple hiccups early, but pretty mistake-free. I was wondering if we'd see a lot of mistakes, penalties, lining up incorrectly, jumping off sides when guys are thinking too much in a new system and the first time against live action. Very minimal. A couple. I mean, like the personal foul at the beginning of the game. I really don't even know what happened on that play. People watching at home on TV might have a better grasp on that. And then I think there was a questionable PI, and there was some stuff that it wasn't like a blown assignment. It was kind of unfortunate or untimely type of thing. But I mean, rarely would you come out and play a perfect game in the opener, but it was pretty good. It was pretty close. Not a lot of penalties. Again, not a lot of jumping or blown coverages or people just completely lined up. Didn't see any matchups that you asked, like, why the hell is that guy doing that? Like we've seen in the past, or like I pointed out in the Ohio State game where Minnesota's got that safety trying to cover Garrett Wilson. Didn't see any of that. Didn't see any of that. It looked like Michigan was well studied. They had Daxton Hill chasing number 4 all over the field, kind of playing a nickel corner. Gave RJ Moten a chance to step in at safety. Quite a few promising things from the defense, including, the big captain, man, big number 97, Aiden Hutchinson. I love him in this stand-up role. I predicted 2 sacks, and I think you went over on 1.5.
I thought it was 2.5. I thought you had it at 2.5.
I think I was originally going to do 2.5, and
then maybe
either way, he got there once, strip sack, blocked a field goal, put quite a few hits on Caleb Ellaby. I think he's going to have a great year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's nothing not to like there. I just think, I was a little bit concerned initially that they weren't getting to the quarterback, but I know that Ellaby, with a lot of 3-step drops, he was trying to get the ball out quickly. So obviously it's tough to get to the quarterback at that point. But you're right. Once they got behind the chains and once they had to start to try to make some big plays down the field, Aiden could just, pin his ears back, get to the quarterback. And same with David Ojabo. I think, he had a really solid first game as well. And we got to see Braden McGregor on the line a little bit, which I was surprised about. I didn't really expect that. But overall, I think Aiden's going to have a monster year, and I'm encouraged by what I saw from this defense.
Even saw some interior pressure. Chris Hinton got up the middle and pressured the quarterback a little bit a few times. But I think Aiden had a big day. He's kind of like, anybody who's ever played sports knows that some people just have a knack, a knack for the big play, a knack for a splash play, a knack for being around the ball. I think that's Aiden. He was able to make some splash plays as a sophomore, even when he was playing that anchor position where Don Brown had him kind of reined in a little bit. I think he's going to be all over the field this year in this new system, standing up, coming from different spots. I don't know. I was really impressed by what he did today. I think he's going to continue to do that. I think he is also the kind of guy who gets up. He gets up for big moments. He gets up for big situations. So really anxious to see how he looks next week against Washington. He finished the day with just 4 tackles. It's not like he was, blowing every single play up, but 4 solo tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, a QB hurry, he forced a fumble. He did a little bit of everything.
Was that the only sack of the afternoon?
It was.
Last time I looked, so
it was just 1 sack. That's, you would have maybe liked to see a little more, but they were getting rid of the ball so fast. The whole first half, especially during the second half, by the time they started airing it out a bunch, it was a lot of backups in there for Michigan too. So I don't know. Would have liked to see a little more pressure from the pressure on Ellaby, but again, Michigan comes out and wins 47-14, or you can't really complain about that. Yeah. Can't really complain about that. I also was encouraged by a few big plays. I know, again, early on, it looked like, we were talking about it. We were like, dude, Cade's thrown what? Yeah, 2 balls over 10 or 15 yards, and then they did, and it worked. Ronnie Bell got called for a bad pass interference call. I think it was a lot of hand fighting kind of going back and forth. Yeah, the most ridiculous catch, and unfortunately it didn't count. And then he had the long touchdown. A.J. Henning gets loose. Blake Corum had the big kick return. Blake Corum's second touchdown was, I think, 30 or 31 yards. So there were some long plays, and Michigan, took advantage of its athletic advantage and really looked like they had the potential to be explosive against just about anybody.
Yeah, and they need to have that, because we watched Michigan State last night. You've got a solid Indiana team. You saw what Ohio State did in the second half. Against Minnesota on Thursday. This is a stacked East division, and Michigan is going to have to prove that they can move the ball. They're just going to have to play some solid football this year if they want any shot at all at competing, not for a conference championship, but to win the division, right? You got to start there. I was encouraged by some things I saw. I wanted to see a little more explosiveness early. But I think they were just trying to get their sea legs a little bit. And once they opened it up, you could see that, Cade's got a good deep ball, and their guys were making catches, or his guys were making catches. So, yeah, I feel encouraged going into next week. I don't know. I don't know if I feel more confident or less confident going into next week. I think I feel kind of the same.
I'm with you. That's something interesting. We haven't really brought that up yet. We were trying to just get on here and get going.
Yeah.
It's a little early, but let's talk about next week. Yeah, I don't know if I saw anything that's like, damn, like that's way better than I thought. But I don't think I see anything where I'm like, I knew it. I knew something was going to be off with all these new pieces, all these moving parts, a brand new system. Again, clean game, made some plays, got a little pressure when you needed to get some pressure. Yeah, I kind of feel like we're in the same spot we were before the game. It was great to see. Great to see some things, and Cade McNamara certainly didn't have to do a whole lot. Threw the ball 11 times. The whole fourth quarter was basically backups, J.J. McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, a bunch of guys that aren't going to play maybe at all next week, you'd think, depending on how that one goes. But, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I don't even know if I have a thought so much about next week. I'd like to see what's going on with Washington. We haven't really looked in on that as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's an interesting point you make. I don't know if I can take a whole lot away from that just yet. Washington plays at 8 o'clock tonight, by the way, against Montana. So I don't know how much we're going to see there either.
Yeah. Well, I think there's one thing that I saw that I really liked, which was Blake Corum. I thought he was going to be good, but he seems like he's going to be one of those guys that's just a star contributor throughout the season. And I think that's going to serve them well next week to get the running game going. Ronnie Bell is another known commodity. You'd like to have him out there at the wide receiver group, being a deep threat. He's not going to be out there. Didn't see much from Cornelius Johnson today. Not as much as I thought we would see there. I'll have to go back and look at the receiver numbers. But, yeah, I unfortunately, I feel like I'm still kind of in the same spot headed into week 2 that I was before this game. And don't get me wrong, it was impressive. They put up points. They limited the mistakes. They kept Western Michigan out of the end zone. To a certain extent. So they did everything you would want them to do in week 1. I don't know how I feel about week 2 yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking at the numbers real quick. Leading receiver for the day in number of catches. Do you know who it was?
Blake Corum?
Eric All.
Eric Gall, okay. What was he at?
Had 3 catches. Again, when Cade McNamara only throws the ball 11 times, like it's not it's not going to be very widespread. But Eric Gall with 3 grabs for 23 yards. Blake Corum had 2 catches for 22 in the score. Cornelius Johnson 2 catches for 15 yards. Ronnie Bell had the 1 catch for 76 yards and a touchdown, and Dalen Baldwin had the late 1 catch, 69 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, I mean, not, a couple big plays in there. One was kind of garbage time at the end with the backups in, but the long ball to Ronnie Bell was really nice. Throwing to Blake Corum out of the backfield was really nice. And I think Eric All can still be a weapon. I like how they used him today. A couple flare outs, kind of get him out in open field. He's a problem out there. Big dude, can really run, former wideout, so he's got those skills. I like how they schemed him into the offense, but again, just didn't need to throw it that much. So I don't know how much you can really take from what Michigan can do on offense in the passing game, but I'm encouraged by Hassan Haskins. I'm encouraged by Blake Corum. I'm encouraged by the offensive line. Actually, it's funny, man. It really looked like it started to hit when they brought Zinner in. We heard about how good the dude is and how they might think of him as the best, only offensive lineman, but player on the team. And he was in on the first play. Then he was out for a quarter and a half, and then they kind of brought him in. I feel like that's when Corum really kind of got going. So solidifying that starting 5, getting Zinner in there at guard and bumping Stuber back out to tackle, I think is going to be that'll be key, I think, against Washington next week.
Yeah. It's just I go back to Matt Weiss said that he doesn't need Cade McNamara to go out and be like a playmaker or do anything other than just sort of what I gathered from it was manage the game, right? But there's going to come a time, multiple times during this season, where Cade McNamara is going to have to be a playmaker, and he is going to have to go out and win a game for the Michigan Wolverines. And that was something we just didn't see him in that situation today. So I think that's why I walk away from this. I feel good about what I saw. I feel some confidence there, but until they go up against a legitimate opponent and I see how those guys handle that type of pressure in a primetime environment on national television, we'll see what they're really made of. But you really can't ask for a better day than what they did today.
Yeah, it was impressive. After slightly rocky first quarter, it was pretty much smooth sailing for the rest of the game. And I don't know if you can ask for much more than that. A lot of moving parts, a lot of changes coming into the game. First game, some new starters, some jitters, and then they settled in and they pretty much whooped ass. I mean, that's about the best way
you can explain how the
game went. Yeah, that's about the best way you can explain it. Wanted to do something. Well, I think we both know. I mean, it's going to be pretty consensus at this point. Player of the game, Blake Corum. 14 carries, $111 rushing touchdown. He had the catches, another touchdown, the 80-yard kick return. Looked dynamic, looked fast, looked strong, looked ready for a full season of work. I think he was the hands-down player of the game. So since he is the hands-down player of the game, you got a runner-up. Who else did you like today? Is it Aiden? Is it – I mean, I don't know. The stat column isn't exactly stuffed.
RJ Moten had a pretty good day. Nikai Hill-Green had a pretty good, that was his first start. He's a young guy. He had a pretty good day today. Ronnie Bell had a good day. Hassan Haskins had a good day. Even in limited action. AJ Henning, I know he had limited touches, but he took that one. I think it was 74 or 75 yards to the house. So I don't know that I have like a consensus second runner up. I think Blake Corum was just far and away the best player on the football field today. And then you had a lot of guys doing a lot of good things for the University of Michigan. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Let's do a quick rundown of the true freshman tracker. Freshman that played today. Rayshawn Benny did play, got in a little bit at the end. Ike Iwana, I don't think we saw him. George Rooks, didn't see him. Donovan Edwards got his hand on a few carries, looked pretty good. Looked like he had a couple that close to breaking it. I don't believe we saw Tavi Dunlap. Angelo Anthony was on the field. I don't think he didn't have a catch, I don't believe, though. Christian Dixon, I don't think we saw. Tristan Bounds, Keyshawn Bennett, Jaden Hood. Junior Colson played pretty well. Thoughts on Junior Colson real quick? I mean, we watched him a couple times make some plays.
Yeah, everything that we expected him to be. We heard that he was a guy that would probably play early. I know he ran into some injury during the offseason, but once he got on the field, he made an impact and with limited reps during the offseason. So once he gets, himself established, I expect him to be a pretty solid contributor, maybe even pushing for a starting spot year 2.
Yeah, Rod Moore played a little bit down the stretch, safety. Greg Crippen got in there at center. It looks like, I mean, with Zinner being a little dinged and not playing during the middle there, it looks like Crippen was kind of the two at center. So at one point you had Greg Crippen snapping to freshman J.J. McCarthy, handing off to true freshman Donovan Edwards. That's pretty cool to see. And then, yeah, of course, McCarthy, who, did a couple nice things, showed some escapability, heaved one down the field. He goes 4 for 6 for 80 yards and a touch. I mean, so between the two quarterbacks, they go 13 for 17 for 216 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Not a bad day. Not a bad day.
I got a question for you. So we saw Bowman, or I'm sorry, we didn't see Bowman. We saw Villari. We saw McCarthy. We saw McNamara. We saw no Bowman. Reading anything into that, or not much?
Just more of what we kind of heard, that he just wasn't ready. I mean, actually, you told me that today from the podcast.
Yeah.
That he and Dan Villari had. He addressed it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you listened to it yourself and then kind of related to me. What do you think is going on there?
Yeah, it just sounds like, when you get to campus as late as he did, and you're competing against guys who have been in the system for a little while. Even J.J. McCarthy, I think he was an early enrollee, right?
Yeah.
So you're going up against guys who have been in the system for a little while. He didn't have a lot of ramp up time. I was a little bit surprised to see him not get in for garbage time, because you and I thought for a lot of the offseason that he might be the guy that was pushing for the starting job. And
thought he had a shot.
Right. And if Cade went down, a very solid backup quarterback who's got a ton of experience over in the Big 12. So the fact that he didn't get on the field at all today, I was a little bit surprised, but I don't know. Maybe there's an injury there. Maybe they're saving him for something else. I don't know. I would have liked to see him throw the ball around a little bit, though.
Or maybe J.J. McCarthy's actually pretty good, because he looked pretty good at times.
He did look pretty good.
Now, never did he look rattled. He executed the really smart double clap on a 3rd and 25, I think. Got the other team to jump off sides, throws it down the field, and then gets a pass interference too, so picks up the first down. Just a really smart play. I'm sure he's not doing that on his own, but to go in there, execute it, sell it, and get that call as a true freshman, that's really promising. And I don't think we really saw much of that last year. I really liked that kind of, heady thought, try to pick up some free yards, and it turned into a first down. So that was great to see, well executed by the young QB. So shoot, man, all in all, a big win out here. The season is back, and now we just turn our attention to this massive measuring stick.
Fork in the road.
So many things. I mean, fork in the road. So many different things that this Washington game is going to mean for me. We've talked a lot about where we have Michigan on the season, 7-5 for me, 9-3 for you. I think depending on what happens next week, we'll shift both of our. We'll shift one of our predictions, because if Michigan beats Washington next week, I suddenly then think they'll also beat Indiana, and I'll be at 9-3. On the flip side, if they lose, I'd have to think you'd be more closer to where I'm at. So
100%. Yep.
It'll be really interesting to see. We are going to wrap it up there. We'll have a little bit more coverage as the rest of the day goes on. Obviously, we going to have some information coming out of the press conferences. I would assume, by the way, I saw somebody ask this in the comment section, or maybe on Twitter, the status of Ronnie Bell. I would assume we won't know until Monday. I think, they'll take the weekend, get MRI or whatever he has to get looked at, and then no doubt about it, Jim Harbaugh will be asked about Ronnie Bell's health on Monday. And that's probably when we'll hear what the diagnosis is. Hoping for something not so serious, but it certainly didn't look good. But at the end of the day, Michigan 47-14 puts a beat down on Western Michigan, improves to 1-0, and now focusing on a massive early season test against Washington. They'll be here night game next Saturday. The pom-poms are going to be out. Put your money where your mouth is right now, Chris. What's the uniform combo for Michigan next Saturday?
Honestly, I thought it was going to be the all blues, but then when they came out with the maize out, and I think the pom-poms are back, I think they're going to be rocking the maize.
Maize out just across the board. It's interesting because sometimes you see the team go away from what the crowd is doing, but other times, I'm talking all across the country, all of college football. Like when when Penn State does its whiteouts, it's at home, so their uniforms are the blue jerseys. So we'll see how that looks. I'm interested. I think it's a virtual guarantee that they will be in some alternate. It'll either be the all blues or the all maize. But we were talking about it today, man. The sun is shining. You look down at that uniform, it's just like What'd you say? What was your? It's a championship uniform right there.
That's a championship uniform. The Michigan uniform is a championship uniform, and yeah, man, it was such a beautiful day. 109,000 plus in Michigan Stadium today. For the first time in 600 and some odd days, I think it was 616 days it's been sitting empty. So it was just great to be back out here, to see the stadium full, to be a part of it, and really looking forward to next week for sure. Take
us out of here with your sentimental moment, man. First time being up here as a member of the media. Yeah. I'm sure that was pretty cool too. We were having a blast up here, no doubt about it.
No, it was cool, man. I feel like I've been working, for years to get to this spot. And so walking in and being in the press box is, I'm looking at it now, I'm looking at the stadium, and it's just such a beautiful view, and it's surreal, and I'm grateful to be doing it. And I look forward to doing it for the rest of the season and, continuing on in the future.
We talked to a dude up here today, man. Actually, a couple special dudes in the building today.
A lot of old heads.
A veteran, the veteran of the game they do every week's really cool. You just want to go down and just shake that dude's hand and get a story from him. But 104 years old, man, the guy on the field today. And then the gentleman up here in the press box with us during halftime just comes over, starts shooting the bull a little bit. Been shooting photos in Ann Arbor for Michigan games since 1954.
And he asked me if I had been coming to the games since, back in the 50s. I know I don't have any hair up here, but I feel like I don't look like I'm in my 70s.
I thought he was joking at first, and then he was like, "Were you around then?" I'm like, "Bro, my parents weren't around then in the 50s."
But no.
Yeah, shooting photos since 1954. Imagine the stuff he's seen in this place. And then we talked to some of the volunteer guys that were up here. A guy that we got to meet today has been here for 25 seasons and told us about the old observation deck for photos and cameras before they put the addition on for the press. But it's Michigan football, man. That's what you get when you come to the big house. You get to meet some really cool people, lots of good stuff going on, and Michigan's 1-0 after a big win over Western. We will be back on Monday as we continue to cover this game and anything else that comes our way over the rest of the weekend. You guys enjoy it. Watch lots of football. We'll be back on Monday night.